Hey there, and welcome to another Kidlit chat. I'm Brooke Van Sickle, your host as always, and I have the wonderful Sara Schonfeld with me here. Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Hi, happy to be here.
Oh, yes, thanks so much for doing this and for chatting with us. So, for everyone watching who maybe has never heard of you, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Sarah, and I'm an associate editor at HarperCollins Children's and Harper Teen. I work on a range of middle grade and YA books, and I've been in the business for almost 10 years now.
Heck yeah, a decade. I know that's how I am too. It doesn't feel like it should be that long.
Really doesn't.
So, you also write books, you're not just an editor. So, what's kind of one of your favorite things about starting a new story? Like, what do you find enjoyable?
You know, it's hard as an editor to also be a writer. I think there are benefits, there are pros and cons, but one of my favorite things about sitting down for the first time with a project is how I get to feel like a reader. I really work hard to put aside all expectations and focus on just the project and enjoying it. And that can be so fun. I think one of the ways that I write, and right now I'm working on an adult project, so longer form things, it can kind of feel like experiencing scenes and characters for the first time. And I'm figuring things out as I'm writing. And that can be such a joy. I get to just play in the world that I'm creating and just have fun.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of writers kind of forget that. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's always, the writer's telling yourself the story first draft. And then when you go through and do your edits, then you're telling it for the reader. So you got to play, you got to have fun.
Yeah.
But like we talked about, you've worked in the publishing world for almost a decade. So it's kind of been one of the most memorable things you've worked on.
Oh my goodness, it's so hard to pick a favorite project. I do not have any children, but I figure this is the question that's like, who's your favorite kid? Because it's so hard. Every project is so unique. And as an editor who is acquiring, I'm never acquiring a project that I'm not completely obsessed with. I've also been incredibly lucky throughout my years to assist some really stellar editors who just not only are titans in the industry and had so much to teach me, but also had so many incredible authors on their list. So I've gotten to assist with Maureen Johnson, with Isabel Allende, with, Robin Schneider, with these great authors who had so much to teach me and also that I knew from my own reading. And I was almost starstruck to get to email them, to send an email to Garth Nix and say, hey, I have some copy to share with you. So that was thrilling. But in terms of projects that I've recently worked on, and trying to narrow it down to books that are recently out, it was such a thrill to get to work on This Appearing House, which is Ali Malinenko's second book. And part of the joy there was that it was her second book, and I had worked with her on her debut. So we were getting to build. And I think for me as an editor, that's the most exciting part. I do truly believe that everyone has a book in them, and that with the right time and the right studying and the right patience, everyone can write a book. But it was such a pleasure to get to come back with Ali and play once again in the world that she's created and with her characters. And that book has also been thrilling because we're starting to get some really great feedback from readers. The premise for the book is dealing with a haunted house as a metaphor for the experience of a body after cancer diagnosis and how to move forward and move onwards. And it's a very hopeful story. It's a very creepy story. And just to hear from all the people who've read it and found it validating, found it helpful for themselves or for family members, it really holds a special place in Ali's heart, and you can tell that with every word. And as her editor, my job was really just to sit with her and say, all right, let's tell this story together and work from a rough draft into what I think is a really beautiful end creation. So I'm really excited for that one. There's been some awards buzz and there's been some really lovely reviews, and it was just such a pleasure to be along.
Yeah, what a cool concept. Who would think like a haunted house and cancer? Like that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Really my wheelhouse. Is it middle grade or YA?
it is middle grade.
Middle grade. Okay, Disappearing House, guys. Watch that one.
Yep.
So, is there anything specific that kind of draws you in to make you want to read a story?
This is always such a good question because I do think as a writer and as a reader, I'm always asking this question, right? When I read submissions as an editor, I always give it at least 50 pages. I'm also, if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I'm a hopeless romantic who goes on a lot of dates. And I do think the opening chapters can feel like a first date. Everyone's nervous, everyone's clearing their throat. And I do think it takes a while to sort of get into the world. But there are a few things that definitely stand out to me that really pull me in. First of all, I love humor. I love when you can tell an author is having fun, and there are all different types of humor. Certainly the book I just talked about is very spooky and it's very dark, and maybe there aren't moments of laugh out loud jokes, but there are moments of levity and moments of friendship and moments of love in the story that give it that joy. And I've had the pleasure of also working on another book, which is campy humor, and it's just ridiculous and over the top, written by a comedian, Kate Weston, and it's called Murder on a School Night. And the premise is there's a murderer who's using menstrual products to kill people, and it's absurd. And the whole time you're laughing and you kind of feel embarrassed that you're laughing at it, but that's what the book is about. It's about saying, like, we shouldn't be embarrassed about this and poking fun at our shame. So I love humor in any sort of book, even if it's just moments of levity and moments of joy. I also really love when there's something in the plot that kind of gets going, like a ticking clock or something that's pushing us along. One of my biggest editorial notes is always, how do we decrease the amount of scaffolding? And as an author, you can think about, well, I need to get my characters to go here. I need to move this along, and how do I introduce elements? And as an editor, I'm going to come in and say, well, how do we decrease those number of elements? How do we decrease the number of times an external force has to come in and act? And how do we really streamline this and make it feel like dominoes falling? And that can be something that happens in revisions. It can happen really late in the game, but you can feel just so smart when you are able to tug your reader through on just one thing. And I think that can be such a game changer in terms of the excitement. I want my readers of the books that I write and the books that I edit to feel like they're on an adventure and feel like it's a romp, you know, like something that it feels effortless and you're just along for the ride. And one of the last things that I look for in a submission is just grounding it. I don't tend to work on high fantasy. So when I'm looking at submissions, I'm really looking for, what does it mean for our readers and our world? How is this going to impact the children that pick up this book? And how's it going to inspire them? How is it going to make them feel seen or validated in a way that maybe they don't get to be in their normal day? Or how is it going to take them outside their comfort zone? So looking for that connection, looking for that human element. And maybe it's what inspired the author to sit down and write in the first place. Maybe it's that heart of the story that really inspired them. And I want to see that shine through in those pages.
Yeah, I love that. All of that is great. And it's so true. I feel like a lot of the times too, especially when you're talking about grounding, like there's so many writers that speak up here and your narrator feels like they're like floating above the thing. And it's like, just bring us into it, bring us into the world. Like that's the whole fun of reading, is be immersed. Yeah. So cool. Well, you're also a dog lover too. I did a little bit of research.
Yes.
So if you were to tell a story from a dog's point of view, what breed would you choose and why?
Oh my goodness. Well, I really love golden retrievers, and I think it would be really fun to sort of play in that positive headspace. I kind of picture them a little dopey, like Doug from Up, and I just think that would be so much fun. But my sister does have a Boston Terrier, and if you've been around Boston Terriers, you know they have very expressive faces, and they kind of stare at you. So we pretend to translate what he's asking for, and usually it's food, but we imagine that his voice is very imperious, and he's just his own little emperor in the house. So I think that would be very funny to write from the point of view of a Boston Terrier who's just bossing everyone around.
Yeah, it's almost like they could be like a partner together, a golden and a Boston Terrier. We have something like that. Oh, sure.
And the Boston Terrier would definitely boss around the golden retriever.
Yeah, exactly. We have a golden retriever, so I'm a little biased and totally like a dog. Like just funny. He chases the sunshine and it's extra sunny today. So it's
my goodness.
It's jam.
They are like sunshine dogs. That's definitely what they are.
Oh, I know. They're so happy. I want to be on their level. So finally, what upcoming book do you have, or anything that's coming out like either soon or some point that you've either worked on or have read that you're excited about?
Oh my goodness. There's so many incredible books that are coming out. And again, it's so hard to pick one. I have a middle grade novel in verse called The Song of Us that will make you cry, but also make you believe in love. And for me, again, being a hopeless romantic, that one really tugged at my heartstrings. But there's a book this fall that I think, I just read it yesterday, so it's at the top of my mind, called The Library of Shadows. And we're saying that it fits in the space between Julia and the Phantoms in Ninth House. So for everyone out there who wants a ghost boyfriend who is a piece of work, and he can get you with a smirk, but he's just so much fun. And that one, it was just such a joy to work on because Rachel Moore, the author, infused it with such humor. There are so many moments where you're just laughing out loud and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I want to be around this character. I want to hang out. The main character is hilarious. She's having such a hard time. And she's like, why is this happening to me? I just wanted to have a normal year at school. And she's dealing with ghosts and creepy crawlies. But it was just such a pleasure to work on. And I do think, I hope that readers will find as much joy as I did in reading it.
I love it. I love it. You definitely like pick my reading list. Like that, those are the kind of books I'm always looking for at the library. That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us and for doing this and sharing all of your knowledge. Yeah. So guys, if you want to learn more about Sara and all of her books that she either works on or writes herself, go to sarahschonfeldbooks.com. Thanks so much, Sara.
Thanks.